What is going on, everybody? We are back. It is a great time of year, not just because it's October, my favorite month of the season. If you want to know the endless amount of reasons you should be enjoying October over every single... Do you want me to tell them right now again? No, I will not do that because I don't want to waste even a minute of your time. This is like almost a holiday, and that is the return of NHL. I was on the cusp of retirement. I was going to retire like George Costanza on top. The last you saw of me, I landed a once-in-a-25-year bet with my scam of the Connor McDavid, Conn Smythe with the Florida Panthers to win the Stanley Cup. And that was just going to be it for me. I was going to go into my retirement and back to failing in some other miscellaneous industry. But you know what? I'm not going to be like Carlo Coliaccovo and just retire early and get out of it. I'm going to stay in the game and go for a three-peat. But I'm going to bring in Carlo, who I need to ask him, along with my man from I Hate Baseball and who got me into 2-point parlays, really the number one guy you should be going to for hockey, and I'm not blowing steam up his ass. I mean, maybe the number two, but number one, because he's on a guest today. But Carlo, Josh, I'm bringing them on for the opening episode, a little season preview. We'll talk about some futures. We'll end talking about the Scam Europe game that I usually don't give picks out for. Guys, thank you so much for coming on the show. I mean, you know you're always welcome, but it's a great time of year.
Hey, man, thanks for having us. I'm pumped. I was reminded this morning that today is October 1st, and you touched on it at the top of the show. October is just a great month if you're a hockey fan, so let's go.
Playoff baseball too today, buddy. Everybody's fired up for that.
Playoff baseball.
Yeah. Alex, show that tweet again that Carlo, he was watching these guys running the Tortorella laps out there. It makes me wonder. Man. I want to know, just how much weight did you gain after retirement? Like, was it the immediate 30 pounds?
Going with the hard-hitting questions right away, eh?
Was it a slow build?
Love it.
It was a slow build. It was definitely a slow build. It wasn't an intentional build. Obviously I had some family stuff that I had to deal with my son, and obviously with the pandemic that we went through. A lot of things took place out of my control. But I find myself in a more comfortable spot right now, considering what I got to.
What was your playing weight, Carlo?
My playing weight was 205, and let's just say right now I'm about 25 pounds above that. But
that's a good number.
That's no different than me. I weigh 25 more pounds in college, and I have no excuses. But we also have a built-in excuse that built into our blood. I mean, when I texted Carlo for the first time in a while to ask him to do this, it came with a picture of pasta from Rome. It's just in our DNA. It's in our bolognese. It's in our blood. On the last podcast, I said, I went to the doctor for the first time in 5 years, scared to open the test results. But I know when I'm checking all the results, chicken parm is coming up positive because that's the amount that I've had throughout the course of my life.
You can do chicken parm, you can do lasagna, you can do gnocchi, you can do tortellini, whatever it is, okay? The best part about being retired is I never have to stress out about what I eat ever again. Because when you're an athlete, you try to stick into a routine, you eat good things, you're dedicated to your diet, you're dedicated to your training. Not anymore, buddy. I'm dedicated to my job, and my job is talking sports for a living, and I absolutely love it. So would I like to be a little bit lighter right now? Yes, 100%. But I can tell you one place I do not want to be, and that's in a rink with my equipment on, doing anything close to a John Tortorella bag skate. No chance. No thanks. I've never played for Torts. I know a lot of guys that have. That is not fun. That skate is not fun. No bag skate is fun. I put in my time, 14 years of it, and I'm never, ever doing it again. So,
well, I think that's the perfect time then from just getting an immediate talking point out there. I heard you guys just have a little quick back and forth before we started bringing up those Tortorella skates. I think you have a Tortorella bet that you guys were potentially talking about. What is this? Preseason, every single sport, they're going to steam up anybody and everybody. You know how many players in the NFL, NHL are going to be the next superstar? And then all of a sudden, halfway through, they're on the third line. Then maybe they're always sent to the AHL because they're just not quite cutting it. And you guys are having a little chat about the talk of the town.
Do you really think Michkov's going to win the Calder? Like, are you betting Michkov to win the Calder at plus 350? The guy hasn't seen an American skate, hasn't seen a North American skate. It doesn't make any sense. He's probably in the worst spot a rookie can be for generating ice time. Add in the fact that he's Russian, and there's obviously some cultural differences in that spot and things to adjust to for him. And I can't see that. And Andy, you brought up a great point. He could be third line. He might not even be PP2 out of the gates. You're telling me Macklin Celebrini can't chip in 40 points on power play 1 with the X up in San Jose? Like, it's an easier spot for that, but I'm not rushing out for plus 350. And I'm really surprised it hasn't gotten any longer.
Yeah, and look, the whole Michkov thing is he's got a lot of flash and dash, and they're very excited about bringing in this type of skill in Philadelphia because it seems like they've lacked it. But this is a team that was offensively challenged last year, and you wonder, okay, will another year help these guys get better offensively? 48 points, which is what you said his point total is, right, Josh?
Yeah.
That would have put him 4th in team scoring last year. Okay. Are we going to sit here and say that Michkov is going to be the 4th highest scorer on that team when you've got guys like Konechny, Tippett, Farabee, Morgan Frost playing on that group? I don't see it happening, especially with how we know John Tortorella likes to teach new players coming into the league on how to, respect the game and carry themselves on, how to buy into playing a tougher brand style of hockey. I think Michkov is going to be an outstanding player. I just think there's going to be a little bit of a grace period that's going to be needed for him to get there.
Does his style of hockey suit John Tortorella's
No,
coaching?
it doesn't. It doesn't.
Okay.
It doesn't. But, I mean, skill is still skill, right? If this guy goes out there, regardless of the brand of hockey, and shows himself that he can adopt to playing that Philadelphia Flyer brand type of way, he's going to earn that respect. But again, we're talking about a team that is offensively challenged. So, 68 points was what Konechny had last year. 53 was what Owen Tippett, their next highest scorer, had. Those guys play first-line power play. Is Michkov going to get fourth-line power play and score 50 points? Find that hard to believe in his first year.
To me, there's a class of players. They were drafted high. They're being thrust into the top power play, the top line minutes. Connor Bedard was a great example. If Connor Bedard was on the Dallas Stars, I'm pretty certain he wouldn't have won the Calder. You just need to have the opportunities. And Celebrini he's always going to be out there in all situations. It would be such an uphill battle. Like if the Flyers are trailing in a game, you think they're looking to Michkov to lead the comeback? He's going to be one of many players opposed to other players on that list that you saw who are just going to be given every opportunity. They can lose every single game. Nobody's going to care because there's no expectations. And then they just rack up points in the meantime. And at the end of the season, you go, oh, look how many points he had. There's your rookie of the year. I'm a fan of choosing guys like that. There's such a bias towards production as well. Like Faber couldn't even really win the Calder last year, despite how important he was to that team, over Bedard, who played on an awful team, raking up some points, missing a chunk of the year with the broken jaw, and that it's never even a discussion as long as you can rake up some.
And that's the thing too.
Points.
Like I remember going into last year, Fantilli got a lot of love, and so did Logan Cooley, because they were obviously going to get a lot of playing time as well too. But they weren't surrounded with great talent, right? And Fantilli unfortunately gets hurt. Cooley never really hit his stride, but Connor Bedard was constantly being pushed into every offensive situation because they had nothing else around him to play with. So you're absolutely right. When you're looking at situations like this, you got to look at guys that are just going to be thrust into better offensive opportunities. I think another, and Josh, we talked about this just after the NHL draft when the odds first came out on who to look at for Rookie of the Year. I'm big on Logan Stankoven. I think you look at the
literally played the most games possible you can play without being
Considered a rookie.
non-rookie, right?
That's
Like
a
one game
scam.
under plus
That's
all
a
the playoff
scam.
games.
Right. And you think of this is a Dallas team that is still in a Stanley Cup window, and they're doing that transitioning from their older players to their younger players. You talk about Wyatt Johnson, Jason Robertson, Logan Stankoven, Maverick Bork, who's probably going to see more playing time this year. They have probably the best crop of young players when it comes to top prospects that are ready to be NHLers. Thomas Harley steps in on the blue line now, right? So they're one of the best organizations recently that have developed so much incredible talent from within, too, right? And I didn't even include Rupe Hintz into that. So the Jamie Benns, the Tyler Sagans, the Joe Pavelskis, the Matt Duchene's, they're all great veteran guys that are probably going to play lesser roles this year. And for a team that's as good as Stanley Cup ready as anybody else, I think Logan Stankoven's going to be a guy that has a breakout year. But guys, I'm telling you right now, I am the lead Habs analyst at TSN. I'm going to be doing
Chub for
almost
Lane Hudson, don't you?
all of the Montreal Canadiens games. Lane Hutson is a real threat to win Rookie of the Year. This kid is dynamic. He's got all the offensive skill sets that you want in a puck-moving defenseman, and he does it so casually when he's out there, just with how elusive he is with his skating, how one step ahead he is all the time when he's trying to make a play on offense. Lane Hutson is great value right now because Montreal's power play has struggled a lot in the past, and mostly because they never really had that stud guy at the blue line that either had a shot threat or had the creative ability that he has. I mean, it's too bad what happened to Patrick Laine, but Lane Hutson has the potential to be a really, really big threat when it comes to Rookie of the Year.
You talked about a couple things. I think it provides a natural transition for a place I probably wasn't going to go to immediately, but you talked about the Stars and you talked about all their young players. And then you just transitioned into talking about a defenseman having a lot of opportunity, which will allow him to potentially win that Calder. If you go over to the Norris, there is a huge opportunity this year with all the defensemen. I texted Josh a little about this for a different kind of bet, but there's all the opportunity in the world for Miro Heiskanen with the bodies that left on the back end. They're actually short on the back end. So the amount of minutes this guy's going to have to eat, and that was actually the bet that I sent to Josh when the lines opened, was the Miro Heiskanen time on ice leader, because Tanev's gone, Hakanpää's gone, and this is a team with Suter's gone. And while none of them, I mean, other than Tanev, but he was just a rental, like this is a lot of minutes that had to be accounted for. And you saw they're willing to go with a short D unit and willing to double shift everybody.
5D for most of the playoffs last year. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so when you're looking at potential values there, I mean, he's over plus 1,000, and I really like the fact that he could be playing on one of the best teams in the NHL, and the amount that he's going to have to play is going to provide the opportunity for the inflated stat sheet. And they have a good power play. And yes, they do have Harley, who's also very good, but just on sheer volume, Heiskanen might be a good bet this year.
Where was that lead time on ice bet?
That was FanDuel. You can get some crazy odds there, and considering who watches this show, I would imagine that that's something that they find alluring.
Look, I love what you just said about Heiskanen, because he's going to be in the mix, and you just wonder if Dallas being more of a separator team this year, when we talk about tiers, top tier, middle tier, bottom tier teams, with Dallas, to me, Dallas is one of my favorites to win the Cup this year, even though, being Canadian, watching the Oilers go through their run this year, Dallas has been that team that's had a gradual build. It almost just seems like they're due to knock on the door. I can't believe they didn't do it last year against Edmonton, but Edmonton, had the two big guns step up. Heiskanen definitely has the opportunity to be there, but what we've seen in the Norris Trophy, it's usually every year it's the guy that leads the way in points. It's no longer a defensive trophy. It's who's got the best offense from the back end. And I think, right now, if we can pull up those odds, Makar and Hughes are going to be the runaway favorites, but Roman Yossi in Nashville with that power play now that they've added Stamkos and Marchessault with Forsberg and Ryan O'Reilly, like at plus 1,200, that's incredible value for a guy that's already won the trophy. So he has that voting edge. But if this guy puts up 100 points like he did 2 years ago, and he's got the potential to do it with that power play, I don't see like anybody else getting better value than that.
Can't say I hate that whatsoever. I think it's just natural. We kind of stumbled backwards. Usually when you're talking about the upcoming season, the chalky way to start would be talking about the Stanley Cup and what direction we see it heading. Yeah. But you know, just like all my videos, just like my whole life, everything's a little bit ass backwards. We start talking about a random Philadelphia rookie, and then we moonwalk into a defenseman. And now, Alex, why don't you show us those Stanley Cup odds? And you know what's funny about the Stanley Cup? Many things. But when you look back at the playoffs, and you just brought up Dallas, like, oh, they were well on their way. There's no rhyme or reason to these random momentum swings. Let me bring you through like the first round last year. Dallas down 0-2 to the Vegas Golden Knights. It's like, well, that's the end of that series. Colorado fully blitzkrieging the Winnipeg Jets, just destroying them. It's like, yep, Colorado's got their mojo back from when they won the Stanley Cup. And now they've had more pieces here, Druins and the lot. So they go forward. Then they beat Dallas in game one. Big come from behind. And then just a full momentum shift. So Dallas, who squeaks through Vegas, then gives up like a 4-goal lead, almost gives up another 3-goal lead in the next game. Then they just quickly and efficiently get rid of Colorado. And then in the next round, they look pretty clean against Edmonton and then completely flat after game 3, and they just lose that series. Then you have Edmonton, who, I mean, you could say they deserved game 1. They just can't get anything going. Then get smacked in game 3. And then Florida looks like they cannot do anything and are just miles behind Edmonton. And then a game 7 squeaker. It's like you have to fully throw out what you just saw. And usually that's the case with the regular season. I can't remember the playoffs being such a wild case of, well, looks like that's just not going to continue starting today. So when it comes to the playoffs, it is so hard because it's so unlike any other sport. So many, one game that goes a different way changes the trajectory of the entire playoffs. And so that's just one thing to keep in mind.
That's why they say the Stanley Cup is the hardest trophy to win, right? Because of all the things you just pointed out. And because very rarely do we see the best teams win. It's the good teams that find the good bounces. Right. Like I've talked to many guys that have won Stanley Cups, and I know a bunch of my friends that have won them. And they always say, like, as good as you are, man, you got to get a lot of luck when you're going through 4 rounds of the playoffs, because as you just mentioned, so much changes from game to game. Like there's no real momentum swings in playoffs because the energy levels that guys bring to playoff games is completely different than what they have in their regular seasons. Every game there's a buildup. Every building is, as loud as it can be. Every mistake in the playoffs normally ends up in the back of your net. So it's like,
did you hear that? When I scream from the rooftops about the clenched ass cheeks theory, the way Carlo just changed the inflection on his voice, every mistake, what do I tell you in closeout games, game 7s? Nobody wants to be the reason that their team's dream is over. So they do this safe play, and you see that Boston-Toronto game 0-0 into like the third period. Every single game. Another year, game 7s, every single game's clenched ass cheeks, because you can't blame them. They don't want to be responsible for losing your team the game. And that's one constant that you see year after year after year. But sorry, that was just a natural reminder, because that's such a, people still get tempted to be like, it's game 7, this guy's going to score. I go, nobody's scoring. Who's your favorite player? He's not scoring. Take his under.
I think when we look at the outright market, though, like it's yes or no's until like you got to get your group of yes and no's because there's teams that can't win. Let's be honest, right? Like
Correct.
Oilers, yes. Like go through the top. Like go through Edmonton, yes. Florida, yes. Dallas, yes. Colorado, yes. New Jersey, yes.
No.
New York, yes.
I'm going no for
but
Jersey.
like they can win. But okay, that brings up a good point. That's kind of where the no gets to, right? Like now you get to Colorado, and then as soon as you hit New Jersey, I'm not buying that price. That's garbage. And then the New York, Carolina, Toronto segment is like, yeah, unless you know the teams well and realize that they probably can't.
Keep going down. Kekeep going down. Let's find the Islanders.
All right,
The Islanders.
Nashville.
Look at this rat bastard.
Vegas,
rat
Vancouver,
bastard.
maybe, like Tampa Bay is. I like them at 30, 25. That's probably a buy point there. But then you're done. You're cooked. You're there.
Carlo, Josh and I have a bet. Josh and I have a bet on the Tampa Bay Lightning this year.
What's our number? 100 points?
What is
100 points. We came up with it before the line was
Oh, yeah, we
set,
set the
and the
line,
line
yeah.
was set at our exact line.
100 points, eh? Wow. And who's on what?
I'm on the over.
You're on the over?
Yeah, I like him this year.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think as a guy who's watched them pretty close for the last 5 years between obviously the playoff runs when they beat the Islanders and then even when they lost to Colorado and then what's happened since then, that whole team is contingent on that power play. It's a top 5 power play every year, and they just lost the guy who Kucherov finds the most. And that re-tinkering of the power play, which I've looked at now, and it has all lefties on it.
No. Okay. I know, but like Gensel's an upgrade.
Well,
massive upgrade.
Yeah, he's not. Josh, this is one thing, and people will probably enjoy this. I'll just fight you to the death on this. That power play
we
will
have
nothing.
we have 82 games, and this will not be the last time we bring it up.
I know, but it's just
Josh,
like it's not nothing. It's huge.
You know you're my homeboy, buddy. I'm with you side to side, but I got to side with Andy on this one. I'm kind of like confused as to what to expect in Tampa because my theory with Tampa is exactly what Andy just pointed out. This team, post Stanley Cups, and even during some of those Stanley Cups years, has always been like you when you talk about what separates a team. You need good special teams, you need great goaltending, you need star power. Tampa has always found an edge with their special teams, and it's hard to when you've got the number 1 or number 2 power play in the league like Tampa's had the last 2 years, and you take away a significant piece to that. One, that puts a lot of pressure on Guentzel, but now it's like he said, everything was set up so perfectly because you had a left-handed shot with Kucherov running things on the offside. You had Stamkos as a shot threat. Well, no, you're not overthinking this because
Josh, you're not overthinking this. I mean, what's going on here?
Penalty killers.
Josh, if you have all lefties, how are they going to operate it?
Yes, I know that the defense can probably cheat and take the shot away from the right.
It's not about the power play. It's about how the penalty kill plays the power play now. Where now there isn't that extra emphasis on the guy on the weak side having to get out and block that shot and take away the shooting lane from Stamkos. Now they can play more compact, and you're forcing Tampa to go through the seam. And you wonder how much Tampa's either going to adjust to that or struggle to that. I'm curious to see, like, where is Guentzel playing on the power play? Is he the net front guy? Is he the bumper guy? Does Point go to Stamkos' spot? That I need to see this first to get to understand. Because look, they're one of the best coached teams in the league. They have one of the best goaltenders in the league. They have one of the best defensemen in the league. They have one of the best forwards in the league.
Sounds like a terrible team.
No. That's going to keep them competitive. Look, I still think Tampa's going to be a playoff team. I just don't know. Like, think about how many games Tampa won because their power play got them to win. Is that still going to be available for them?
And they're also showing you the classic dip. They're showing you the playoff loss, then the playoff got dominated. Like this is the gradual. This is the
decline.
Gradual Penguins decline, the gradual Capitals. We've seen it time and time again. And really, so much of that is because Kucherov's not changing where he plays. He's operating from the circle, and they have no righties now other than Point, who doesn't have an outside shot. And you can't put Guentzel in the bumper as a lefty. How's he going to absorb the puck and shoot? There's really, I'm telling you, massive problems for the power play, borderline Men's Warehouse. I'll guarantee it. But back with that that Stanley Cup list, is there anything? I normally don't care about this. It's like
I don't care because I think it has such a high variance of outcomes, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think you have a better chance at finding teams who are better in the regular season for 82 games to win a division as opposed to taking a fucking flyer on the Canucks at 15-1, which sure, they might make the Final Four, but like injuries, everything, goaltending. You saw Demko and Solov's injured last year. They're both not even healthy right now. Colorado, like you could lose guys to substance abuse problems mid-run. Like it's serious stuff. Like so much stuff can happen. I'm not joking on the situation. I'm just joking on the variety of things that can happen within a team to go 16 wins, and it's so hard to do. And like it's just such a beat up thing. So I kind of stay away from it unless I like the number. When I got the Lightning at 30-1, seeing 18-1s in some spot, but that's it. I think
speaking of which, then why don't we go to make the playoffs? Drop down to make the playoffs, because I do see two teams who clearly have a chance not to make the playoffs based on their current situations that everybody thinks will. And I just teased one of them. If you can go down to the Devils, I don't know what I mean. They're just one of these teams. The sportsbooks were like this about Calgary. They just thought they were always going to be a good team no matter what. Like, doesn't matter. To make the playoffs, minus 150. Finally, they're out of their good graces. But the Devils have been a scam defense for years. They're already dealing with issues about Pesce being ready and whatnot. We don't even know how this is going to look. Luke Hughes is out for a while. We don't know how Markstrom's going to look in a system like this. Like sometimes these goalies, once they get thrown onto a team that doesn't play a ton of defense and is more of an offensive style, messes with their confidence, give up a lot of goals. They were awful last year. All I see with Jersey is a team who had one great outlier year and their offensive players played very well. Any sort of offensive team. Ottawa has a ton of talent. They've had a ton of offense these last couple of years. It doesn't just mean you're getting in the playoffs, let alone winning a division, and you're seeing plus 350 to make the playoffs. I would have that. My own odds would be plus 190. I have zero respect for the Devils, nor should I. What did they do to deserve
that? The Blackhawks
understand.
Gave up only 7 more goals than New Jersey last year.
Well, clearly Jersey's problems last year was that they couldn't get a save. Like, let's be honest. And they got hit with some big injuries with Dougie Hamilton and Jack Hughes. So look, obviously you're never going to bet anything minus 390 or minus 400 to make a playoffs. If you see value in them not making the playoffs, I just look at the division they play in, okay? Outside of the New York Rangers, who is a team you can feel confident saying is a lock to make the playoffs in that division? Pittsburgh wants a bounce back year. Washington made the playoffs with a worse lineup than they have right now last year.
Negative goal differential.
The Islanders, your Islanders. I just think, the division they play in gives them a chance because it's open.
Don't even show me those Islanders, Alex. I'm not ready to even look at them yet this year.
So the other thing for New Jersey is they've solidified their goaltending. If it's not Markstrom, they got Jake Allen, who's a very, very competent backup.
That's true.
And they have Sheldon Keefe coming in as a coach who we watched him in Toronto year coach winning teams with a horrible defense, right? And you look at him going into a first year with New Jersey, he's had more than he's ever had in Toronto when you talk about goaltending and defense. He's got a number one stud in Luke Hughes. He's got another number one offensive guy in Dougie Hamilton. He's got Brendan Dillon and Brett Pesce, who can be a nice second pairing defense. And he's got, star players up front, which he's had the reputation of coaching to success, like Jack Hughes, like Timo Meier, like Jesper Bratt. I think there's so much upside right now with New Jersey because they have talent, they have great goaltending, and regardless of how you feel about Sheldon Keefe, I think he's a really good coach, and I think he's going to make a really big impact with this young New Jersey group.
I wish I could bet them to finish third in the division.
Is that where you think they're going to finish?
I just think from their price that they are now that you would probably get the best value at betting them third in the division.
Who's second? Who would you have second?
Oh, but just I think Carolina.
Well, you
and the
think
Rangers-
Carolina won't be good because they lost some players? Like those
Well-
defensive teams, you could come back out of retirement, not go to training camp. He'll find a way to get good defense out of you. It's just the way Brind'Amour is. He will get a lot out of these rosters.
Look, I'm a huge Brind'Amour guy, but who's going to score goals for them? I mean, did you see who's playing center?
Martinook.
Did you see who's playing center for the Carolina Hurricanes? Okay,
yeah, but they got a healthy Svechnikov this year. Remember, coming off a torn ACL last year, so now he'll have to shoulder more of a burden. But if you have Svechnikov and Aho as two of your top six, and then Natchez and Jarvis as also in your top six, there's enough to go around for a team that's going to try to win defensively.
Look, this is a team that struggled to score goals last year, and they had better. Remember, they had Teravainen in there. They traded for Gensel, right?
Yeah.
Their second line is Jack Roslovic and Jesper Kotkaniemi. Like,
yeah, I think they're doing that weird thing where they put they put good players on the third line, and
okay. So their third line is Jordan Martinook, Jordan Stahl, William Carrier. Yes, this team is they're very well coached. Okay, they're gonna play hard. They're gonna play a good system type of game. Their defense always finds a way to be one of the best in the league. They struggled to get points from their back end last year. Their power play struggled. They're going to get great goaltending because they got Kochetkov and they got Anderson. I just wonder where they're going to get their goals from up front outside of that top line.
Alex, my West Coast team, so they're my scam in the East, my scam potential in the West. A team that had a great start last year, then they kind of tapered off. I watched a guy who I really believed was a superstar look anything but it in the playoffs, and I'm willing to shift my opinion on him now. And also a very weird situation in net where they keep coming out and updating the timeline, and that's the Vancouver Canucks. They had one good year, the same way the Devils came out and had one good year, and then they reverted right back to who they were before. Every year I have a scam 5 where I introduce people are going to try to sell you on these teams. And I'll start by saying my big 3 haven't elevated out of there. Buffalo's still in the scam 5. Ottawa's still in the scam 5. Detroit's still in there. I'll finalize the rest of them, but man, I am very tempted. But since they have a coach who he holds his players responsible, I don't think I can put Vancouver in there. But I would not be shocked at all if they miss the playoffs.
I'm with you. There's always teams that catch you by surprise, either in a positive way or a negative way. Clearly, Vancouver caught a lot of people by surprise. They won the division last year. Who has ever predicted that? A team that I'm very high on that could make the playoffs here that a lot of people aren't giving much attention to is the Utah Hockey Club. Because in Arizona, this is a team that's always had talent. But every year they find a way to get rid of it instead of surrounding it with more. Now they got ownership. They're playing in an NHL rink. They're going to be playing with more fans, and they're going to be operating, as a management group to try to win. And you look at the talent that they've accumulated. You look at I think Connor Ingram, I think, can be a really good number 1A. And Vejmelka, if that's the guy they go with as their 1B. I think Utah has a chance to surprise a lot of people this year.
You get that scam first-year energy that maybe Vegas got,
Seattle got, or actually Seattle got it in year 2, but
yeah. What about you, Josh? Was there anything that came up? Was this something you looked at all, the make the playoffs type thing, or not your end of the spectrum?
No, now you got me thinking about Vancouver, and you're looking at it, and you're like, they had such, to agree to your point, they were getting such contributions from Nils Höglander and who was the Joshua guy?
Dakota Joshua.
Dakota Joshua.
Who unfortunately is not available for the first bit of the season because he had
and Elias Pettersson was not playing well, right? After the All-Star game, he was getting in a lot of trouble, and that's a team that's relied basically on Hughes and Hronek to basically run the offense through them. It's tough, and then you add in both goalies, so I'm kind of sold on it. But Brock Besser's a funny one. You're looking at it. Playoffs were great, right? I was really surprised. I was looking through contract year guys. He's a contract year guy. Looking at his point total at 64.5, which is a pretty low number playing top line, PP1. I mean, if they're going to play a bit defensive style hockey, I get it. But with winning, it sounds counterproductive. You don't score. I think you don't score as much in winning the way Vancouver does, if that makes any sense, right? Like 3-1. You don't need to push the offense. You don't need your top line out there to grind out late minutes, right? They're not getting 21 minutes a game. But Brock Boeser at 64.5 is something I might dabble
I'm just
on.
picturing Josh just scouring the internet, trying to find who's contract, who's a UFA,
That's
just
all
trying
I'm
to
doing.
find every last guy.
It's the same thing you do when you talk. You start talking. I'm like, okay, what's this? Where's this go? Now we go here. Oh,
It
let's
gets
look at
bad
this.
with me. I'll tell you right now, Carlo. Now that you're out of hockey, how about we make you a bookie today? How about we make you a lines maker? I was seeing if I give you a player.
Yeah.
And you owned I'm on the channel, we call them pizzeria picks. A guy who doesn't even have a sports book. He walks to the pizzeria. That's his local bookie, the pizzeria guy.
Okay.
So you're going to be my local pizza man. Hey, you look close enough like you can be related to a pizzeria owner.
Thanks.
So I'm going to give you a couple players. And if you bet me on it, what would you set the line at? All right.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. So the first, we're going to start with Jonathan Marchessault. How many goals would you set the line at for Jonathan Marchessault? And the reason I'm asking this, by the way, I'm going to give advice for everybody for bets they can make, not just Marchessault, not guys like that, but for
are you
everyone,
okay if I just search the player quickly to see how many he had last year?
Yeah.
Okay.
But don't look for his
Marchessault,
line.
right?
No. I'm not looking for his line. Okay, so he had 42 last year. I'm gonna guess 37.5 for Marchessault in Nashville.
Okay, you were damn close. He was 36.5.
Mm-hmm.
So your pizzeria, hey, maybe there's something. There might be something in this pizza and picks with Carlo.
Well, 42
now,
was kind
Alex,
of an outlier season for him because prior to that, his highest total was 30.
Okay, so would you like to refine that?
What my total is?
Yeah, because now that you just said you looked at the other years, you want to keep it at 37 and a
I'm
half?
keeping it at 37.5 just because I'm picturing what the offense is going to look like in Nashville.
Fair. Okay, so this is what it was, like, a month and a half ago. Alex, if you can show him what it is now.
Oh, you guys have been hammering the under.
Pirates have been busy.
Wow.
So why don't we stay right on that same team then? How many goals do you have for Steven Stamkos?
So did he hit 50 last year? No, he hit 40 last year, right? Steven Stamkos hit 40 last year. I'm going to guess 35.5.
I'll tell you, this guy, he's really close.
It's probably the
but
sharper number than the 38. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now
38's too
show
high.
him what it is now. That's what it opened at.
Yeah, see?
Now 34.5.
Yeah.
Can we ask you about David Pasternak?
Yeah. Let me just pull up
Yeah, you
his
can.
stats.
Yeah, you can.
So Pasternak, did he get 50 last year?
Carlo has a twin brother named Pablo,
No.
correct?
Yeah,
Pablo's Pizzeria.
Paulo.
Paolo's
yes.
Pizzeria. There you go.
Oh my God, Paolo's Pizza and Picks? Yo, you don't need Josh's show anymore. That is it. Paolo, you bring on Paolo.
Right? There you go.
Have him have a pizzeria attire. Have him have the apron on.
His nickname is P-Man, so we call him P-Man. P-Man's Pizza Picks.
At Paolo's Pizzeria.
Okay, so Pasternak had 47. He had 61 the year before, which was the most he's ever had, and I'm going to guess Pasta's probably 43.5. Wow.
I would have taken
I
this one.
I emptied the bank on the under. This is a preposterous line.
Yes, I agree.
So, yeah, I bet it down, and it's still at 50.5.
Wow.
So if you guys want some advice, and this is why I brought these up, I believe it is very smart to blanket under high totals across the board. Anybody who has something that Austin Matthews is at like 56.5.
Yeah.
If he misses 4 games, that bet's done with. Like, it's over.
Yeah.
These totals are absurd. Kaprizov, 99.5 points. Mika Zibanejad, that's his one I just particularly like, 78.5 points. If these guys miss a few games, you've already won it. It is so like, do you know how hard it is to score 53 goals?
Everything has to go right,
dude.
basically.
And I'm so glad you brought that up because we have this conversation about Matthews here in Toronto. And look, this guy is an unbelievable goal scorer. But every year the expectation is this guy's got to score 50. I'm like, guys, you know how hard it is to score 50 goals? You need so much to go right. Pasternak's done it once in his career. 60. He got to 61 in his contract year. And then the highest he's ever been before that is 48. 48 and 47. And then he's been in the 30s every year after that. That's
you
an
hear that, and you can still
number.
bet that, people.
And remember, he was playing with Bergeron for most of those years. Pavel Zacha is his centerman.
And that was the team that broke all the records.
Yeah.
That team's long gone.
Krejci,
it is a new style of team.
Yeah, and we don't even know what style of team they're going to be if Swayman doesn't decide to be there.
Oh, seriously.
Lindholm and Zacha. It looks like Zacha's moved to the wing, and they got Lindholm pivoting that line now.
Now, what you just said about that goalie, I think now is time to say it. I've been screaming from the hilltops, told you before the show. I'm just going to say it one final time. You can't say I never did anything for you. I ended you with the craziest bet of your life last season, and now I'm just handing you free money directly in your hand. It's free. I don't care. But Andy, I live in Pennsylvania, and so drive your ass to Jersey because I'm handing you free money. Because there's one site left, only one, that still has Ilya Sorokin's win total listed. I've talked about this everywhere. My Patreon, on Twitter. I just went outside. I just yelled it out, hoping the next door neighbors would hear it and then place this bet somehow. And that is the under on Ilya Sorokin's win totals. It was at 28.5, down to 27.5. But the guy still hasn't reported to training camp, and he's quote-unquote skating off to the side after back surgery on a team where the coach played Varlamov over him down the stretch and in the playoffs, and when he brought him in for the playoffs, pulled him after a period and a half. This bet for a team that was projected for 88 or 90 points was unbelievable to start with. Before any sort of injury, he had back surgery. Is he at best going to start half the games? I mean, this is guaranteed money. And this is all I can say. This is all I can say. And when somebody's going to complain about something, they call, Andy, you lost the under 2.5 shots on goal for Nikolai Ehlers. I don't give a rat's ass. You should have your whole year cleared by now on this bet right here if you do not take it. And is that not good enough? They maxed you out at 550, at 1550, 2550. Well, then just scroll down to Semyon Varlamov, who has his wins listed as if Sorokin's going to be trying to hit that 27.5 win total. 12.5 wins for what I believe is going to be the starting goalie for the Islanders, especially if Sorokin starts on like a 3-week LTIR. Knowing that they can rest Varlamov down the line, they'll just play him essentially every single game in the beginning of the season. So you want it, you got it. I'm never bringing it up again. I've been yelling it for a month now, and that's it.
I can picture you just taking out the trash on Tuesday night. Neighbors coming out. Dan's up there. Did you get on that Sorokin bet there, Dan?
Better than your neighbors. Didn't your neighbors steal your trash can?
Yeah. That was the first episode of I Hate Baseball.
What do you got in your trash can that your neighbors want so much of?
They're just fucking. They're not cheap, bud. And on the street, you know what I mean? Like, and they break down. Like, if you can upgrade your trash can and swap it out with your neighbors, you're probably throwing
out good scraps.
No, it's not. It's just like the handle's broken or the wheel's broken. You're like, oh, my lid's cracked. I might as well just pull the switcheroo and see if they pulled off.
What do you guys think about that blanket under on high totals?
I think everything has to go right for shit to happen that way, right? Like, and even you saw it last year with Marner to get 100 points, Matthews to get his milestone, right? Even if you push those guys and give them every opportunity, it still
it's still got to go out and play the games.
Yeah.
I like it. I'm always taking unders on future bets. Always.
every year I don't give out picks for the opening game. I'm like, look, I'm not in the mindset. Okay. We got preseason going on. There's preseason games literally happening while this scam Europe game's going on. Are they really in regular season mode? Or is it this in between where they're kind of playing like exhibition, but they know that the points count? So I just texted Josh yesterday. I have nothing. I don't know. This is the Devils in Prague. Is that what it is?
Yeah, O2 Arena, bud. Czechia. Devils.
Wow.
Big -150 favorite. You'll notice them. They'll be priced heavily again all year, right? Like that correlation to where they are for the division lead goes to every one of their games on the money line. So they'll be taxed. They were last year too to start the season until it took about a month. You're like, oh fuck, these guys can't play defense. These guys can't keep the puck out of their net. They're like, yeah, this team's gonna be fucking awesome. Akira Schmid, we were so high on Akira Schmid.
Yeah, I know.
I know. Just because the team was good, but like they still sucked, and the Dougie Hamilton injury obviously hurt. But I'm off this. Like everybody went in on Monday, I believe. So both teams are there. A lot of it is just like what it means to these guys. Like Lucas Raymond was dominating. I mean, his family was there from next. I don't think he was from in Sweden, but he dominated that game. They gave guys a ton of opportunities in this spot. I don't know, like guys like JJ Peterka. He's German, but like he'll be excited. But there's some really funny ones in guys who have opportunities, and there might be some spots and points. Nico Heischer's a Swiss guy, right? So he's big, but he's playing with Thomas Tatar on the second line, and Tatar's one of the only 4 Czech guys on these two teams, and one of the only ones that has an actual role. So he wouldn't be a bad one to look at for a point, which is absolutely insane.
What about from Andre Palat, right?
Yes, and Andre Palat's the only other guy, and Buffalo has 2 guys, but I don't think they're even in the lineup in Kulich and Rusek. So Palat's there. I think he's PP2, but the guy who will have the better opportunities because he's skating with Hischier will be Tatar. It's not like a guy I've ever bet on, but like that's only going to help the value in his props, right? They're not going to be super high. You probably won't get a shot total, but you might get a point total. You might get a goal total. It might be one of those things where no points, no shots, but you might have to squeeze them for a goal.
Obviously, fans or regular people in every single sport, 75% of bets, up to 80% of bets are always on it starts with the word over. So people obviously like overs, and I just, for all playoffs, I drill them. It was the meme that I made was from Casino where they're holding up Joe Pesci's face, and I'm saying this is me forcing you to look at unders. But if there's a time that I greenlight people's desires, it would be in these gimmicky games where the NHL
early in the season too.
6.5 seems long there.
Yeah.
That's only going to go under, I think, that total, right?
You think
6.5. Everybody's going to get ice time early in the game, right? Like probably going to make sure everybody gets a little wind under their sails early in that game. And Buffalo, like, do we really think that offense, Tage Thompson maybe is what he was last year and not the year before that? JJ Peterka, I think, is up on the top line. I don't know if he's a top line winger. I love JJ Peterka, but I think he's more of a middle 6 guy in that spot. And the Devils, like Nico Hischier is still one of the best defensive players, forwards. If they can sit, like this is a team that probably focused coming into this year. Hey, did you know that we fucking only allowed 7 fewer goals than the Blackhawks last year? So if they're going to focus on one thing, it will be to shut down Buffalo's offense. And they got the goaltending now maybe to do it.
I watched all Andy's videos. They said we play roller hockey defense. I think we need to shore it up.
Which ones?
I'm talking about the Devils.
They play roller hockey defense. Okay.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, when you go to the if you ever play roller hockey, you go to the park and you just kind of play and say, all right, if I'm good, I'll do what I do over here. You do what you do over there. And you just play whatever you want to do out there. And that's what I call roller hockey defense. Figure it out while you're out there.
Carlo, going into a season, like the coaching strategy, like the system play, you go into it. And is there not one game more than any other game than the first game than trying to implement that system?
There is, but there's also a grace period too, right? It's you want to kind of use training camp to implement those different changes, but what type of training camp have these guys actually had if they've had to prepare to come overseas to start this tournament? Yeah. So you might see some little leaks in the way they play right now, but let's be honest. I mean, new coaches, all they bring is just a fresh voice. I mean, I don't see how much tinkering there is in, systems from team
I don't
to
know,
team.
man. I saw the New York Islanders go from the last ranked defense in the NHL to the first ranked defense in the NHL when Trotz came in, and they lost Tavares.
Yeah.
There's something in it.
Oh, no. I totally understand that there is, but how much, like, do guys come in and like, a lot of it is just because you're probably
How much execution can you do in such a short time?
Yeah, but no, you're preaching different messages, right? You're not really preaching different ways to play. Like, nobody's coming in and reinventing the wheel on how to play defense in the NHL, right? It's all about the messaging. It's all about how, you can get players to understand what you're saying better, and that's part of, what separates different coaches from others. Most guys that play in the NHL know how to play hockey, right? It's just getting them to play on the same page and understanding what guys can give to the way you want to play versus what other guys can bring to the way you want to play. So I think early on in the season, there's still, like, you talk about what preseason brings. Guys are still going through the motions. The intensity isn't there. It always takes like a week or two for guys to really start to dive in and play real defense, because a lot of it is loose and still open. And you got to think a lot of guys are playing with a lot of excitement too. There's a lot of adrenaline that's played into this. And I think there's a tendency early on in the season for there to be a lot more offense than maybe what we're used to seeing, just because everyone's still learning the early part of the season and getting themselves up to, game speed.
Couple things. Number one, I've always found that early in the season, referees are very liberal with the whistle. They will call anything and everything. And if there's more power plays, there's more opportunities. So obviously early in the season is when I green light the Jackals who want to do as many overs as they want. Typically, I'm an unders guy. Also, I've always thought that October, November, teams who have top 5, top 7 power plays, who bring back the same exact unit, have a distinct advantage over other teams, even in winning and whatnot, because they don't have to figure out what Nashville's figuring out. Right. They don't have to bring in, are we going to put Duclair? Are we going to take off Nelson? There's none of that. The Rangers are rolling out that top 5 unit. The Toronto's rolling out that top 5 unit. It's going to look just like it did 2 years ago and 3 years ago and 4 years ago, and that's why it's always in the top 5. And I always think that provides such a distinct advantage for those teams to get off to a hot start, because they can win games on the special teams and they just pick up right where they left off. So those were just some notes that I thought were good to give to people before the season started. If you guys have any sort of advice, I know I think all 3 of us are money lines pretty much are donkey plays if you're chasing heavy favorites. This ain't the NFL where you need to get lucky to have a real bad team beat the best team in the league. It happens every single night.
No, I think hockey has the most variance of any sport, right? Like a single bounce changes the entirety of a game. But I really like the point that you brought up about with Sorokin and betting unders and the information betting and how it ties to that. So if you're jumping on line stuff, so you're like, oh, Billy's going up to line 2, better bet Billy for a point. Well, always think about the other angle on that and what you did with the Sorokin and Varlamov thing. The over will be the first market that is adjusted, and then the under will be the last market that is adjusted. So in that spot, if you miss the value on getting the over for someone whose roll is going to increase, go find the guy who roll is going to decrease and bet his under, because that's going to be the one that's going to be slower to move. And a lot of people a little scared to bet those unders in those situations, but it's probably the better way to do it. So if you're betting line guys, don't be afraid to bet the under on the guy who's losing opportunities, I think, too.
Absolutely. One last thing that I guess we'll just end on. Carlo, last year, he told me something online. I guess, he was feeling a little left out. He told me that once me and Josh posted some plays from a day that we did a show, we hit some of our infamous 2-point parlays, and you told me that you wanted to be a pirate. You said, I want to be a pirate. And, there
comes Andy's AI magic. It's coming, isn't it?
No, that's real. That's real, Josh.
I know. No, but I thought you prompted AI generator
Yeah.
to give me.
Well, I gotta go back and
show me an Italian pirate.
Yeah, I gotta go back and delete a lot of my previous messages.
What do you mean? These are good. These are great.
Wrong with being a pirate, bud.
No, I just don't know what else I've tweeted in the
there.
past that might come up and haunt me.
Assuming they'll still be there this year, and hopefully the prices are relatively similar, there's massive opportunity to beat Pirates with those 2-line player point parlays. And just so you remember the formula, and if I'm messing this up, you let me know. You want 2 players who play together on the same line and on the top power play, preferably. I mean, there some power plays give their PP2 time, but you need to see players on that same line, same power play, and if you parlay both of them to get 2 points together. Basically, if a line gets hot on a game, it gives you payouts that in the NFL you'd have to hit one of the most ridiculous parlays you could ever imagine. And if you want to be a parlay pirate,
yes,
those are the safest seas you can possibly sail if you're looking for those true, Pirates of the Caribbean payouts. And I'm looking forward to see.
Probably don't want to go shorter than plus 700 though, right? Like ultimately you want 10-1 on those 2 players, right? Like that's the best spot.
Right.
Alex, did I send you something you can pull up to the side? If not, no worries. Go ahead, Josh.
No, so like the model that I was running with, it was round robin, 4 guys, right? 4 teams, 4 pairs, so 8 guys in general, but the round robin in 2s, the round robin in 3s, and then everybody in 4. So I believe that totals 11 bets, right? 6 on the doubles, 3 on the triples, and then 4 on the triples, and then 1 on the other one. But you give them out like this, play them singles. They're great to play singles. That's plus 1,200 for those 2 is awesome. We saw those numbers early, right? Like then you get teams like Philadelphia who keep moving their guys, and you can get some sneaky deals, right? The Bedard and Kurashev one last year was unstoppable. It was just, and you're getting it at 10-1.
Mason McTavish and Troy Terry. Yeah, congrats. They're on a bad team. They're decent. Go ahead. Lose 6-4 for all I care. Get some useless points for me. I mean, they hit it a couple times in back-to-back games. And I think it's those 2 in Zegras this year. I mean, early in the year, I really have a hard time seeing any site pricing them like they're superstars or anything like that. So you should be able to find similar prices. I mean, as you're seeing, and these are obviously, like if I took Carlson and Marchessault, like you see in the picture on your screen, it's because Eichel was probably out, and we learned that Marchessault was going to be playing on Carlson's wing, and Carlson was also taking that spot on the top power play. So always knowing that you're maximizing your chances for those to play together. But I'm sure as the season goes on, we will be talking about that more. But Carlo, you want to be a pirate, here's the inside track, my man. Those 2-point parlays are kind of the way.
Arr!
That's the one. Parlay.
Well, and I'm glad you brought up a great point, Andy. The one of the great pleasures I take in working with a guy like Josh is understanding his job and how he finds these markets, these angles, these value plays. Because I show up to our show one day and he's like, hey, guess what? So-and-so PP point, he got elevated to the power play 1. He's playing on the top line. He's playing on the, all the offense. I'm like, man, how do you find this stuff? That's what this guy does. This guy finds those edges because so much changes day to day with NHL rosters. If you can find guys that are getting more opportunities in scoring situations like PP1 or top line playing with their top players at plus money before the market finds them, this guy finds them, man.
What do we call that, Josh?
Sniffing is believing, bud. That's what we call it.
That is called
trickle down Snakenomics.
Yeah. Snakenomics. I love it.
You get moved down the lineup, up the lineup. We know how to benefit in a classic case of trickle down Snakenomics.
Hey,
and Josh, for me, was the originator to point me in that direction.
Oh, 100%.
And it truly shifted my whole philosophy on what exactly I was looking for on a day-to-day basis. And it's why you guys, I know many of you went over there. you should definitely check out Josh and Carlo's show. You know, I'll always do what I can for you, but sometimes he's in those bunkers. What are you doing tonight? What are you watching on TV? Josh is in those bunkers.
Look at his background, dude. It's a bunker. Look at it. It's got the
it has no windows. Literally no windows.
Like, look at that.
Yeah,
100%. He's ready.
So Tatar and Palat are a 2-point combo. Look out this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and you know that one's going to be big. Yeah. Second line line mates with Heischer, and then PP2.
So, Josh, I'll let you tell everybody exactly what your schedule is going to be and where to find you.
Oh, I love these hits where you get to
you know what?
No, stop it. I love you. Stop it. Wednesday, Thursday, prop picks with Carlo live, 10 a.m. It covers. And then we're going to be doing more picks on the Friday, but it's going to be heavily influenced with some Leaf talk, which is, it's just so fun.
I don't get enough of it, right?
Yeah. No, I'm just going to listen to you and regurgitate all your talking lines. But I don't know. There'll be props constantly, and it will be.
Does this feel like a short off season to you guys? I feel like I was in Italy.
You were
Game 7 at 2 a.m.
You were in Italy,
on the 4th of July. I mean, they were playing hockey in the dead of heat in the summer. I feel like we just ended, to be honest with you, but here we are again, and I'm sure it's going to be a great year. I'm looking forward. I don't know, kind of looking forward to seeing what this year holds. You never know. I always think it's just going to be more of the same, but by the end of the year, I'm like, well, look what we're doing now. So
yeah, we were really lucky last year that the finals went to Game 7, and it went almost to the end of June because it gave us a lot of hockey, and then you think following that was the draft, and then shortly after that was free agency, and then we actually saw some big trades happen this offseason too, which was fun to watch. Maybe the NHL is starting to catch up to the NFL and NBA and understand that, hey, trading big stars in the offseason actually helps create buzz around your sports. So we'll see. But
Josh,
it's been fun.
I mean, I don't know if you got graphic designers that like having fun over there, but I mean, how do you not do a Carlo's Pizza and Pick segment? Throw a mustache on this guy, put him in an apron, and just have that graphic ready to go.
Hey, Julio, hey, what do you like on your pizza?
Thank you for you guys coming on here. I will send you over Carlo with a stash, flipping that dough, dealing out money lines and totals.
Love it.
I just want to thank you guys so much for coming on. Really do appreciate you don't have to do this.
You know? Nah, buddy, it's our pleasure, man. We love coming on with you.
And then, Carlo, I'm sure they'll love me over on TSN if you need me to fill in on a segment. How quickly would I get booted off that network? Anyway, very much appreciated. You're always welcome back. If there's anything you ever need me to do, definitely reach out.
You got it, bud.
We'll be seeing Josh again, and I just can't thank you guys enough.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, man. Hey, have a great year this year, man. You're doing great things with the hockey coverage and the betting. We're happy to be a part of it, and I'm pretty sure we'll be a part of it again sometime this season. So thank you. Good luck.
Thanks again. Take it easy, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the little season preview here. You know, we're about to embark on a long journey right now between football and hockey, and as you can tell, I'm definitely looking forward to it. So I will see you guys before opening night. I obviously have the football videos coming out as well. I'm sure I will see you then. Take it easy. Have a good one, and thanks for watching.